Now available, paperback and Kindle Unlimited. ISIS, the main event. It's carnage inside of a steel cage when the goddess next door steps in the squared circle with the beast from the boss in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, the main event, paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Pro wrestler CM Punk has been fired from AEW, or All Elite Wrestling. Now, CM Punk's contract was terminated by AEW CEO and owner Tony Khan after an altercation took place at the All In pay-per-view event that was being done in Wembley, England. And as Tony Khan was sitting in the gorilla position for this pay-per-view event, which was the biggest of the year for the AEW organization, CM Punk decided to have a confrontation with AEW talent Jack Perry, also known as Jungle Boy. And as CM Punk got into a verbal confrontation with Jack Perry after allegedly brushing against him, he then escalated things into an argument, and that argument went on to become a physical altercation that basically led to him eventually winding up pushing into AEW owner and CEO Tony Khan, allegedly with him having several monitors fall on him. And this altercation got so out of control that it took other AEW talent, Samoa Joe, to break up this altercation. Now, after this alleged altercation, Tony Khan then decided to suspend both CM Punk and Jack Perry and decided to go out here and order an investigation into this entire event. Now, according to some reports, CM Punk then got into Tony Khan's face and said that he was quitting, but other reports say that Tony Khan basically wound up walking away from CM Punk. I don't really know what happened. All I know is what is presented in reports. However, Tony Khan ordered an investigation into the event because there were video cameras of everything going on at Wembley Stadium, and after doing his investigation, he decided to officially terminate the contract of Phil Brooks, also known as CM Punk. Now, this isn't the first time that Phil Brooks, also known as CM Punk, has gotten into an altercation with AEW talent at a major pay-per-view. No, the first time he got into an altercation with AEW talent was when he had a confrontation with Hangman Adam Page, and that led to him looking to go into business for himself. Now, at the time, CM Punk had been signed to a big contract and was their champion at the time. He was the AEW champion, and things were starting to escalate as related to CM Punk's just out of control behavior, because during his time when he was AEW champion, he again was looking to go into business for himself and went off script looking to get into it with AEW Executive Vice President Hangman Adam Page, and things escalated at the biggest event of 2022, All Out, where CM Punk then decided to, after his match where he defeated Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship, decided to badmouth AEW in front of AEW President Tony Khan during a media scrum. And after going out here and bad-mouthing the entire organization in front of Tony Khan, in front of the press, he then wound up getting into a confrontation with AEW's executive vice presidents, Hangman Adam Page, Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega. And there were several other wrestlers who were in management, such as Christopher Daniels. This led to an altercation between CM Punk and these wrestlers backstage, and as a result of that incident, all of these individuals wound up getting suspended, and Tony Khan was forced to strip CM Punk of the AEW Championship. and give it back to Jon Moxley after an impromptu tournament for the World Championship. Now, this second incident really shows a real problem with AEW leadership under Tony Khan, and the big problem is that Tony Khan is letting AEW run him and not him running AEW, because the disrespect that CM Punk showed him in 2022 has escalated in 2023, with CM Punk going out here and embarrassing AEW as it's hosting its biggest event of all time, All In, at Wembley Stadium, as an event is going on which is supposed to represent the biggest event for the organization. CM Punk makes it all about himself and all about his issues with Jack Perry, instead of everybody focusing on making this event the most important one for the organization. And this is where Tony Khan basically had to draw the line, because it is clear that CM Punk had no respect for him, because to go out here on the biggest event for the organization and go out into a altercation with Jack Perry on the biggest night for the AEW organization, that is the ultimate form of disrespect, because a talent should be thinking about how they are going to perform for the organization and thinking about putting on the best show for the entire organization and navigating through your emotions as related to whatever issue you have with someone, to understand that yes, you may have your feelings about Jack Perry and his whole proposal to go out here and use real glass, but you don't go out here and look to put a foot in his ass as related to your disagreement with him on the biggest night for the organization, and even worse, getting into it right in front of the owner in the gorilla position backstage on the biggest night for the organization. Because what CM Punk did was go out here and put himself higher than the organization, showing no respect for Tony Khan. And I'd have to say again, it's an escalation of disrespect. And I say it's an escalation of disrespect because here we have a guy who basically talked bad about AEW in front of the press, right in front of the owner. And that's where, if I was running AEW, I would have gotten rid of CM Punk then, because if you're going to talk bad about me and take my money, you're not going to be making any more of my money, because I'm not going to put up with that kind of disrespect. No, that was the time for Tony Khan to take his respect back then, because even though CM Punk is considered to be one of the world's most popular wrestlers, and some consider him to be the best in the world, his conduct was not the best for AEW, and it was not best for the locker room of AEW. Sadly, CM Punk did not have any of the humility of Cody Rhodes, who, when he worked for AEW, wanted to put much of the younger talent in front of him, wanted to put over young talent, wanted to go out here and do what was in the best interest of the organization, and wanted to go out here and put on the best show so that young talents could get over, instead of CM Punk looking out for AEW's future. He was only looking out for himself. And again, the way he conducted himself was extremely unprofessional, if these reports are true, because a wrestler on the biggest night of the biggest event in the organization's history should not be thinking about a beef he's having with another wrestler. No, on the biggest night for the organization, a wrestler should be thinking about putting on the best show possible, focusing on the match that he has, and then looking to go out here and work out whatever grievance he has with someone off stage and off of the facility. Again, that's the way you conflict resolve when you have a job for one of the second biggest organization in wrestling. But sadly, CM Punk didn't think about the organization. No, all he did was think about himself, and he thought that because Tony Khan did not set a boundary for his out-of-pocket behavior, he thought that he could go out here and escalate his behavior, because Tony Khan made the big mistake of going out here and giving CM Punk a center position on his show AEW Collision. Now, according to some reports, AEW Collision was basically a show that was made to pacify CM Punk so that he could not be on the same stage as the AEW executive vice presidents Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Nick and Matt Jackson. And that was a bad decision because it really showed that Tony Khan had really passive leadership and was looking to pacify people instead of setting boundaries for his wrestlers and letting them know that he is the one that runs the show. Because, again, separating people does not prevent them from acting out of pocket. No, people have to know that you are the leader and that this is your program, this is your content. And again, if you want to work on this platform, you have to follow the standards of the person running that platform. That is what a leader does. He's going to sit there and say, if you want to be an all elite, you're going to have to act like an elite, and you're going to have to conduct yourself to standards. And in any workplace, you're going to run into people you don't like and disagree with, but you're going to have to work with those individuals, because we are all about producing the best wrestling content, and your goal should be about producing the best wrestling content, and you have to put your feelings aside if you want to be a part of this organization. Nobody's going to go out here and give you special treatment, and that's what Tony Khan was doing with CM Punk, continuing to give him special treatment and enabling his attitude of arrogance and enabling his out-of-pocket behavior, because any guy who was out of pocket like CM Punk, he should have been checked, because that's related to All Out, because at All Out, I would have put him out for disrespecting the organization, because nobody is bigger than the boss, and that's the lesson that sadly CM Punk learned at All In, that when you go out here and disrespect the boss, you're going to wind up being put out the door. Now, there are some out here that want to say that Tony Khan made a mistake by firing CM Punk, saying that CM Punk is supposed to be the biggest draw in pro wrestling. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with those individuals, because the firing of CM Punk was not about the draw, because there are things that are worth more than money, and what's worth more than money is your integrity as a man, and that's something Tony Khan was fighting for this time. What he was basically fighting for this time was his intangibles of manhood, because this disrespect basically showed that CM Punk was looking to escalate his disrespect, and the only way for him to take respect as a boss was to go out here and terminate an individual who was basically escalating his behavior and looking to go into business for himself once more. And when somebody wants to go off script and wants to go into business for themselves in your business, that's when you gotta take that guy and terminate him, because there's only one boss, and again, you run the business. And if you're running the business, you have to run out those who want to try to run your business without your authority. So this was all about assertion of authority and letting people know who the boss was. And again, letting this guy who was out of pocket know that if I'm signing your paychecks, you need to show me some gratitude. You need to show me respect, because again, to go on the biggest pay-per-view in the organization's history and participate in out-of-pocket behavior for a second year. That is something that needs to be checked, because this is a guy who put himself above the organization. Now, these same people who say the firing of CM Punk was bad want to also go out here and say that AEW has lost. I don't see where AEW lost. I see where AEW is possibly correcting a situation that is when you're dealing with an insubordinate employee. And when you're dealing with an insubordinate employee, you want to get that individual out of your organization before they do further damage to worker morale, because CM Punk's behavior did damage to worker morale back in 2022, where he took all the focus off the energy of the All Out 2022 pay-per-view event and turned it into a disaster for AEW's optics and AEW's public relations, and it also did damage to the AEW brand. And that's where it really, again, showed Tony Khan as a weak leader, because he still tried to work with CM Punk when any other organization like WWE, after an employee got an insubordinate like this, would have gone out here and fired that individual, because you going out here and talking bad about the organization in front of mainstream press in any company, that would lead to you getting fired. I mean, when Roseanne Barr put racist tweets on Twitter, she was fired almost immediately, and they changed the show into The Connors. And when other actors got out of pocket, they were fired. This is just something that should have done, but Tony Khan, because he was a passive boss, what he did was look to give CM Punk another chance, hoping to turn him into a draw. But CM Punk stopped being a draw. He became a liability. And as he became a liability, he basically wound up messing up his chance at a comeback in wrestling. And basically AEW hasn't really lost, because they've got a roster filled with talent. And while they've built a show around CM Punk with Collision, there's an easy chance to regroup as related to this show and make this show about other wrestlers, because they have a lot of great wrestlers who aren't really getting a lot of exposure. You've got guys like Keith Lee, guys like the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. You've got guys like Miro. You've got Thunder Rosa, again, and Abaddon. You've got great talent sitting there that AEW could easily use to build a show around on Saturday nights. And all that show really needs is a good booker to go out here and craft and create stories, and go out here and craft stories that can draw people in and make us care about AEW. That's the other part of Tony Khan's leadership. That's a problem, is that he doesn't really focus on stories or develop characters. But that's another video for me to make about Tony Khan. But with CM Punk's termination, this was something that should have happened last year, but it happened this year, and it's not a bad thing. No, there comes a point where a boss has to go out here and have the backbone and the stones and the integrity to do what's right for their business, and this was the right decision to do for AEW's business, because when an individual expresses contempt for you by getting into a backstage altercation right in front of you when you're the boss, that is the ultimate form of disrespect, especially if this is done right after a year of you having an altercation with executives and getting a second chance. Because usually when a person is standing right in front of a boss, that is when they're on their best behavior. But CM Punk felt like he didn't need to be on his best behavior in front of a boss. No, he felt like he only needed to do whatever he wanted, because he thought, oh, Tony Khan's a fanboy, and in some ways he is a fanboy. And because he thought he was a fanboy spellbound by his star, he felt he could do whatever he wanted. But that is, again, not the right attitude to have as related to a wrestling organization. No, that's not the attitude to have, especially when you're an older person in my age range. Again, when you're an older man, you should be setting an example for guys like Jack Perry by going out here and being a man enough to navigate through your emotions. I mean, yes, you have a disagreement with someone as related to a stunt they want to pull or a sequence they want to do, but the way you deal with that is, again, to let the boss take care of that. And again, this is Tony Khan's show, and it's up to Tony Khan to start being the leader as related to this show, because of his passiveness, he's let a lot of situations get out of control. But I'm hoping that he learns and gets things under control, because he's got to learn that he has to be the one who runs AEW, and he can't let AEW run him, because if he lets guys like CM Punk run the organization, then he's going to wind up with his organization run into the ground because of locker room morale being at an all-time low. And with CM Punk out of AEW, maybe this whole situation with the locker room morale can change. Maybe a lot of people can heal. Maybe things can work things out, and maybe we can get things back together as related to clearing up a lot of the dysfunction. But the whole thing with the dysfunction of AEW really starts with Tony Khan, who I believe really needs to read my book, The Man Crisis, and my other books like Stop Simping. He needs to learn how to be a man who goes out here and leads his organization and leads his talent and lets them know that the ultimate decisions are made by him, and go face to face with any wrestler like a Jack Perry who says, okay, I want to work on glass. Well, you got to clear that stunt with me. I'm the one who has the final say on situations. That's what he needed to do with Jack Perry as related to his issues with CM Punk. It's what he needed to do with Britt Baker as related to Thunder Rosa, and letting her know that he is the one who will tell her to relinquish the title if she is injured. And again, nobody's going to be telling him what to do, because if you want to go into business for yourself, then you have no business in AEW. That's what a leader tells all of the wrestlers, to let them know who is the one in charge, and let them know that it's Tony Khan who runs AEW, and that the wrestlers don't run anything without him telling them what to do. Now, if you want to pick up my book, which is a tribute to my love for pro wrestling, ISIS the Main Event, you can find that book in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pick up many of my other action-packed fantasy books on the SJS Direct imprint, like the other books in the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, my vampire novel Eternal Night, or my sorority novel The Thetas, you can pick up those books on Amazon.com by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to see me make more videos about pro wrestling, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, All About the Goddess. The Goddess Next Door bears all in the art studio to catch a campus stalker in this action-packed ISIS series mystery. Get your copy of ISIS, All About the Goddess in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.